Tina Michaud. I'm a health promotion specialist here in Ottawa-Gatineau, and we're also joined here today by Allison McLeod, physical exercise specialist with the Ottawa-Gatineau Reconditioning Team, and we're absolutely thrilled to be here with you this morning. And off the bat, I'd just like to encourage you, if you want to stand during this presentation, by all means, move around, do whatever you need to do. So just before we get started, note that the presentation you're about to view is the intellectual property of the Department of National Defense. Any reproduction or retransmission of the slides contained in this presentation is strictly forbidden. And this webinar is being recorded and will be available for viewing later on youtube.com. Though active participation is encouraged, you may simply follow along without using the chat or the video microphone functions if you prefer. So again, totally up to you what level of participation interaction you want to have through the chat and the video. So just a few housekeeping notes. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the MS Teams, but if you're not, just a couple reminders. There is the chat box. So any questions that you may have during the presentation, please feel free to put in your questions, comments. And if I don't get to your questions throughout the presentation, we will have an open question period at the end. There's also a raise your hand function, is this little icon here. Again, at the end, if you want to ask your questions on the mic, you can raise your hand and go ahead and do that. There's also the video and microphone function. Again, we'll just make sure all mics except for mine are shut off for the duration of the presentation. And you'll also note that in the upper left-hand corner, it is noticed that the session is being recorded. Okay, so what are our presentation objectives today? Well, there's three things that we're going to be looking at. The first thing that we're going to look at is why it is important to break up sedentary postures. So what's the deal with sedentary postures? Why is it such a bad thing? The next thing that we're going to look at are tips and resources on workstation ergonomics. So really just a few key pointers just to get you on track to improving your workstation for you. It's not going to be an exhaustive explanation. This is not an ergonomics presentation, but you can be certain that after the webinar, I will be providing you with many, many resources where to go for ergonomics information. So again, for any questions on that, please feel free to throw them in the chat. And then for sure, I think this is the best part of the presentation. We're all going to participate in a live active break led by the reconditioning team. And again, we do have Allison McLeod with us today. So just to get things started, I have a question for you. So true or false? People who are regularly active are consistently more productive after 7 hours of work than those who aren't. So please feel free to share in the chat if you like. So we have one person saying that it is true. Okay, somebody else is saying that it's true. Does anybody else want to weigh in? True. Well, you're absolutely correct. It is true. So people who are regularly active will reap a whole bunch of great benefits from that. It's important to note regular activity increases blood flow to your brain and can help result in better focus and attention. So really getting that recommended 150 minutes of moderate to vigorous exercise every week, which is about 21 minutes per day, can really change your work life for the better. So breaking up sedentary time with physical activity is necessary to be healthy, happy, and productive. So again, these are some great benefits. You have better executive function, more energy, less stress, more confidence, whole bunch of great stuff. So what we're going to look at right now is why is it important to break up sedentary postures? So we already have a hint with the image of the gentleman on our screen. He seems like he's having a pretty sore back. I'm going to ask you another question. Now, this one is maybe more for self-reflection. So have you ever counted the number of hours per day that you're in a seated position? Whoops. So think about it. You can compare pre-pandemic. So, you know, perhaps you're working more in the office. You can even think about at the moment now, are you sitting more? Do you still commute to go to work, or maybe you're at home? Maybe you're pulling the roll out of bed, walk 10 feet and sit at your desk. I've heard of that one as well. And my next question is, are you surprised? Right, so yeah, some folks are chiming in here. So some folks are saying about 12 hours, 8 hours, 9 hours. Okay, good. So keep that in mind for the rest of the presentation. And again, you know, there's been a lot of changes with working from the office, working from home, and both cases represent, you know, their own challenges in terms of, you know, getting up and moving and being active instead of staying plugged to our computers. So reducing sedentary behavior. So what is sedentary behavior? So all it means is that it's any waking activity that uses very little energy while the person is sitting or in a reclined position. So no, sleeping is not a sedentary behavior. It's a whole separate thing. So sedentary behavior is anytime you're, you know, maybe on your lazy boy, reclined watching TV, playing video games, reading. If you're sitting and working, definitely on the computer, surfing the web, in your car, on the bus if you take public transit. So most people adopt a flex position during the majority of their day. So flex position meaning kind of bent at the hips. So we're looking at sitting, reaching, lifting, which inevitably will have a negative impact on the long term. And this could be one of the explanations why many individuals will suffer from back pain at least once in their lifetime. Now I have a graph here that I pulled from the Health and Lifestyle Information Survey. It is the 2013-2014 version. I don't yet have the results for the most recent one, but we can see here that regular force personnel spent on average 30.5 hours per week engaged in sedentary activities. Now, this is better than the average Canadian population. If we want to go ahead and compare, the average Canadian population spend about, let me just see here, it's 9.6 hours per day. So that's 67 hours per week. But again, that's an average. So looking at the amount of hours you spend sitting or in a sedentary posture per day kind of makes us think a little bit more. And for many of you who are joining us from Ottawa-Gatineau today, it's important to note that CFSU Ottawa personnel spent more work hours per day sitting than personnel at any other of the 7 most populous CAF bases and wings. Now, there are a couple reasons for that. One of them is such that CFSU Ottawa personnel more likely to be officers and in the 50 to 60 year age bracket than personnel from any other base or wing. And they're more likely to have an administrative or policy related task that requires sitting at a desk for prolonged periods of time when compared to personnel that are posted on other bases or wings. So again, it's even more important for folks out here in Ottawa-Gatineau to be aware of the impact of sitting in the long term and really what you can do to help break up those seated postures. So the short-term impacts of sitting. So I'll kind of let you take a look at the slide here. But there's a lot of research that informs us on many negative impacts of sitting too long. So on the slide, we can see there's metabolic effects from sitting in a time period that's 2 hours or less. So this is not something that happens after sitting all day, just after 2 hours. So you'll have reduced circulation, you'll have some increased back stiffness, and ultimately you're not really going to burn that much energy because you're sitting and you're not expending much. There's also changes in good cholesterol as well as performance of insulin. So again, a good thing to kind of be aware of your current habits and thinking about creative ways to adopt more frequent standing positions or walking more often during your hours of work and leisure time. In the long term, we're looking at more chronic health problems. So risks of sedentary behavior, in contrast to many of the benefits that are achieved through a physically active lifestyle, being sedentary for extended periods of time can have some serious implications in the long term. So we're looking at increased risk of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, obesity, some cancers, pulmonary disease, and all-cause mortality. So currently, there are no sedentary behavior guidelines for adults living in Canada, meaning there's no danger threshold that has been confirmed for prolonged sitting. But we do know that the more sitting we do, it's not really a great thing. So as I had mentioned earlier, average Canadians are spending about 9.6 hours per day, excluding sleep time, in sedentary positions or postures. So that's quite a long time. It's a big part of our day. So now that we outlined kind of why we maybe want to reduce our time spent in sedentary postures, we can take a look at a few tips and resources on workstation ergonomics. So maybe a few tips and tricks that you can pick up and apply to your workstation right now. And again, this isn't an exhaustive course on ergonomics. We're really just looking at a brief overview. You may pick up some ideas. And again, I will have more information available to you after the webinar, so you can refer back and take a good hard look at your current workstation. So it's important to know what ergonomics is. Well, what is it? It's a term that's thrown around quite a bit, but essentially what it means, it's the science of matching the job to the worker and the product to the user. So in other words, it's ensuring that a workstation is suitable for the worker or user. Making sure that the worker, so in this case, it's yourselves, you're not trying to make yourself fit into the workstation and adopt some type of poor, awkward posture to try to get the job done. So how many of us have done that? You get to work, or there's a workstation that you've been assigned to, you just sit down and start working without thinking twice about what your setup is like. Next thing you know, there's aches and pains, maybe your neck, your wrists, your shoulders, your back. So again, it's important to take awareness of what our postures look like. Speaking of which, we have another little participatory exercise. So if you are sitting right now, just take a moment to be aware of your posture. Now, what does it look like? If you want to go ahead and match it up to one of the images that you see on your screen, feel free to say that, maybe your posture looks like C. Maybe you have a pet that absolutely insists on, sitting on your keyboard while you're trying to work. All right, so we have A, okay, great. E, since the cat wants attention, absolutely. That is my that is my reality here at home. Often have to fight with the cat. A or H. Okay, perfect. A lot of us are spending time in the kitchen, right? The dog sits behind me on the chair and I sit on the edge of our seat, right? Yeah, we're just kind of trying to make things work and we forget about our postures, right? You're more concerned with your pet than you are with yourself. So C and E. Okay, yeah, again with the pets, I have to say they can be a lot of fun to have around. So A or H. Okay, yeah, again, a lot of table work at the kitchen table. Not all of us have had a chance to create a separate office. It depends on the space that's available to you. Maybe you have the kids at home and you're also trying to teach them. Never G. Good. You should be sleeping for sure in your bed or in a more comfortable position, definitely. So, and then somebody is reporting that they're off today, so they're in position H. All right, great. Thanks for the participation, everyone. So definitely, so here's my follow-up question. So depending which image kind of matches your posture most, maybe you're slouching right now. And if you are, try to sit up nice and straight and notice how your neck posture might change. So oftentimes if we're kind of in a hunched over, slouched over position, our back is taking, the big hit from that. And as a result, the neck tends to just follow. So our entire spine will have a poor position. And that's something that we want to try to stay away from. So sitting posture, we can see here on this slide that we have somebody that is probably really tired of sitting at his desk. And well, they're slouching over, maybe the chair isn't adjusted accordingly. But the big message here is that poor back posture maintained for a long period of time, it can create spine problems. And it's the loss of that natural spine curve that increases the spinal compression and weakens the core muscles. So if you recall, the spine, it's not just a straight bar. There's a nice curve in the neck, and then there's another curve in the thoracic, and then we have that lumbar curve, right? So that's the curves that we're ultimately trying to preserve. So in one research study involving competitive volleyball players, they discovered that the player's core strength was actually weaker by 20% after sitting for 20 minutes on a bench when they compared it to their core strength when they first walked into the gym. So how does this happen? Well, it doesn't take long to lose core strength. And it's actually explained by the fact that poor sitting posture stretches out those important back muscles, and that this prolonged stretch will ultimately weaken the muscles for several hours. So again, we're pulling on these structures constantly when we're in these poor postures. So what can we do? Well, again, a big thing is being aware of how we're positioned. So here we have a lovely infographic by the Canadian Centre for Occupational Health and Safety, again, which you'll get the link after the presentation. And it has some great pointers, some great reminders of what we should try to strive for in terms of sitting postures when we're working at our desk. So ask ourselves, are we maintaining neutral postures? So the easiest thing to do is just to do a head to toe scan. Starting with your head, are you looking up or down or straight ahead? If you are looking down or up, is there a reason why? Maybe your monitor is too low or maybe it's too high. Another thing to consider is, are you having trouble seeing your monitor? Maybe you're too far from it. And another thing to consider is if you wear corrective lenses. So those are all things that could impact your head posture, wanting to kind of creep towards your screen and then end up in a hunched over position. Working down, we're going to look at, noticing what our shoulders look like. Are they kind of hunched forward? Is our back up in our backrest? What about our arms and our wrists? Are they in a relaxed position? Are you reaching forward or sideways for anything? Maybe you put your mouse really far away and every time you want to use it, you have to reach out to use it. Again, thoracic spine, your mid-upper back, are you slouching forward or is your back supported on a backrest? And definitely when we don't want to forget about is our lumbar spine. So our low back, is your lumbar curve supported? So if it's not, consider filling the gap with a rolled towel, a cushion, or anything. And definitely, we also want to make sure that our feet are always supported. So we have a question that just came in. What is the ideal position of the monitor? So length from eyes. So typically speaking, we're looking at about an arm's distance away from you. So if you pull, or not pull, but stretch your arm out directly in front of you, your monitor should be approximately around the tip of your fingers. For sure, it depends what type of monitor you're working on. If it's a laptop, then that will change because you still need to be able to reach your keys. That may also change if you do wear corrective lenses. And for much more detailed information on this, again, I'll provide you with the CCOHS website, and there's a whole section on every body part. So neck positioning, monitor positioning. So I'm sure you'll find the information you're looking for there if I haven't answered your question. Thank you for your question. So as I had mentioned for the sitting posture, you know, maybe you don't have a nice fancy adjustable chair at home, right? Maybe you're working on a kitchen chair. Maybe it's even patio furniture that you brought in from the summer. So just keeping in mind that a good seating posture maintains a natural curve of the back, right? So the three components that are recognized by research is adjusting the chair to the person's body. So height, depth, and width of the chair. So if you're working on a tiny, tiny chair and you're a very tall person, try to look for a different chair that might be a better fit for you. Using a back support, a cushion, or a rolled towel in the low back to preserve the curve. Very, very important. And using adjustable armrests that elevate slightly so your elbows can rest on them. Again, not all chairs have this. It's not super essential. I would focus maybe more at this time, you know, the back support. So again, keeping in mind, you might not have access to, you know, all this fancy equipment, but any improvement that you can make on your current situation will be beneficial. So always keep that in mind. Any change for the better is better. So following up on our next ergonomic quick tip, so we looked at neutral postures. The next thing you want to pay attention to is contact stress. So pressure points. Is there anywhere that there's big pressure points? So a really, really common one is the wrists, right? Wrists on the edge of the desk. We often see that in many, many cases. So one of the things that you can do is simply, again, paying attention to how your posture is. So we can see in the image, we have what's considered perfect. You can see that the wrist is nice and straight, it's not bent, and it's not in contact with anything. And then we have the two other images where the wrists are bent, so you know they're not in a relaxed position. And then we also have the other situation where you know the wrists are on the edge of the desk. So try to avoid that as much as possible. And we just have another comment that came in here. I bought an ergonomic chair for home, best investment ever. Certainly, whatever things we have available to us in terms of resources, if we can make it a little better, sometimes it's really worth it. We have somebody else that's mentioning that they're sitting on a balloon, okay? All right, and so just following through on the contact stress. So we have the wrists, the elbows that tend to come in contact with table surfaces. But one that we don't think about all the time is what about the surfaces that are actually sitting on the chair? So we're looking at your buttocks, your posterior thigh, the back of your leg, which are all in contact with the chair. And if your feet aren't properly supported, well, that's going to cause a lot of extra weight on those structures. And it could cause numbness, more discomfort. So again, try to make sure your feet are supported. If it's not the floor because you can't reach, Prop your feet up with a box, a footrest, or anything that you can find to make sure that you are supported. This will just help distribute your body weight across the chair surface as well as your feet. And then our last ergonomic quick tip. So we're looking at repetitive movements. That's another kind of risk factor. But hey, we're typing. There's a lot of repetitive movements when we're typing with our fingers, clicking with the mouse, all those little movements left to right to navigate. But there are a few things that we can still do to alleviate the workload. So consider sharing the workload between your right and your left upper limb whenever it's possible. For example, if you're right hand dominant and you're experiencing discomfort, consider moving your mouse to the left side. And the bonus is that by moving your mouse to the left-hand side, you'll also be encouraging more neutral postures of the wrists. And again, what I mean by that is that your wrists aren't bent in all sorts of directions. They're nice and straight in a relaxed position. So if you can see in image A, the right hand kind of has to bend towards the ulna, so ulnar deviation, to try to reach the mouse. Whereas in image B, it's a lot closer and a lot easier access to go and use the mouse. So the right hand will be alleviated of all those extra tasks, and you can share it between left and right. Another thing that you may want to consider is learning keyboard shortcuts to reduce the number of mouse clicks and to increase your efficiency. So you'll not only be saving your fingers and your thumbs for clicking around, but you'll be even faster at your job. So you can find these shortcuts by searching online, making notes of the one will be most useful to you. Just a quick example, if you have to undo things a lot and you always use your mouse to kind of navigate, search the toolbar, click, undo every single time, instead you can just do Control Z and there you go. Super, super fast, no need to use the mouse. And then the last note I'd like to make on this is that you can certainly adjust your mouse settings. So you can change the primary click of your mouse, so left or right. You can also adjust scroll speed as well as sensitivity. So feel free to go on your computer, click mouse settings, and play around with the settings to make sure that it's the best fit for you. And a few more additional considerations. So when it's possible, use external devices such as monitors, keyboards, and mouse. Important to note that there may be some restrictions in terms of what you're authorized to plug into your work computer. Now, I do have a document with more information on this that I will share with you, but make sure to be well informed before you plug in any external devices into your work computer, okay? But if you do have the green light and you do have access to these items, absolutely use them. They will certainly make your workstation more comfortable for you. Increasing the height of the monitor using books, boxes, again, you might have to be creative here. And as mentioned previously, the height distance of your monitor, we're looking about an arm's distance away, and the height, approximately the top of the monitor should be at the same height as your eyes, but if you do wear corrective lenses, this might be different. And the punchline here is take breaks often. So you might notice that you can have the most ergonomic setup ever, but humans are not designed to stay put in a single position for hours on end. You need to move. So if you start noticing that after 20 minutes of sitting that you're kind of squirming and you're taking these weird postures, you know what? Maybe it's time just to take a quick break and get up and stretch. So again, try to strive for a small break every hour, standing for 1 or 2 minutes. You can walk short distances, and you can even perform some standing exercises. So lumbar spine researchers have found that with prolonged sitting, back muscles have less stability and poor reaction times that decrease protective mechanisms. So again, if you're sitting for a long time and then you decide that you're going to go help your buddy move or carry heavy objects, it might increase your risk for back injury. So again, try to get up really often. And let's not forget about our neck, shoulder, arm, chest, and leg muscles. which can also build a lot of tension when we're sitting for long periods of time. So you might want to do some exercises when you're standing to further help relieve other tissue tension. And we do have these great brochures available to you. It'll be sent to you after. It's put together by Strengthening the Forces and is available on the Health Promotion website under Grab and Go resources. So it's just a few exercises you can do at your computer. And if you are looking for more ergonomic resources available to you, now it's a bit different between CAF members and civilian personnel. For CAF members, if ever you need something more detailed, more elaborate, you can always consult physiotherapy services for more information. They can offer personalized ergonomics as an approach as part of your therapy. And for civilian personnel, it's safety offices, which can provide some guidance for workplace ergonomic assessments. And this is new. So many public servants in the NCR are teleworking. So there are new virtual services available to provide some virtual in-home ergonomic assessments. It does require manager approval and justification for the assessment to take place. But again, I'll send you the information on that a bit later. Sorry, I had not switched the slide. If you want to take a couple of minutes just to look at the slide here. So again, just differentiating military and civilian personnel will go through different channels to get ergonomic support. And exercise is medicine. So participating in regular daily exercise is recognized as one of the most important things you can do to stay healthy and fit. So many of these chronic diseases that we mentioned earlier can be prevented considerably with a exercise prescription. So that's where the phrase exercise is medicine comes from. So by adopting and maintaining a daily physical activity routine, you'll increase your chances of avoiding injuries, diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, cancer, depression, and heart disease. And I'd also like to bring your attention, there are new 24-hour movement guidelines for Canadians. And again, the big take home here is there's 3 focuses: physical activity, making sure you're getting 150 minutes per week. We're also considering sleep now, so making sure you get 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And there's also sedentary behavior that is now in these guidelines, essentially trying to limit your sedentary behavior to 8 hours or less each day. So earlier when you were reflecting on, okay, well, how many hours do I actually sit every day? So regardless of what you answered, if it was 8, 10, 12, decreasing that in any shape or form will be beneficial. And don't forget, every single step counts. Every small movement you do will count. So just try to limit your sedentary behavior. So now we're off to the best part of all. So participating in a live active break, which will be led by Allison McLeod. So for this section, just to make sure that the spotlight is on Allison, I'll just ask you to keep your cameras turned off and your microphones muted as well. And Allison, if you'd like to take over. So again, Allison is joining us from the Canadian Forces Support Group, Ottawa-Gatineau Reconditioning Team. She is a physical exercise specialist and typically works with providing exercise programming to ill and injured CAF personnel. So Allison, the floor is yours, and we'll just reconvene after our active break. We'll open the floor up to questions, and I will also have a survey for you to complete. So thank you for your time, and Allison, it's all yours.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining. Oh, I'm hearing a little bit of feedback here, so if someone has their mic on, please turn it off. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to lead you guys to a very quick workout. It's going to be about 15 minutes long. I've included exercises that you can do at a desk, some quick stretches, some quick movements that you can do, fit it in your day, because I understand that we don't all have 60 minutes where we can step aside and get the work done. Okay, so you guys can listen to some music if you want. Just be sure that you can hear my cues. I'm just going to adjust my camera a tiny bit up so I'm not cut off. Okay, so we're going to start with 10 chin tucks. Standing like this, you're going to tuck your chin back, try to get your ears to be over your shoulders, and then push it forward. So this is one of the posture things that Tina had mentioned earlier. We're just going to strengthen the muscles that hold our neck in the proper posture. One more. Okay, good. Now we're doing wrist circles. So do wrist circles one way, we'll do 10. And the other way. And shoulder circles. So we're going to start rolling our shoulders forward. So instead of doing the regular gym class kind of shoulder circles, I want you guys to really think about your movement. Try to move your arms, or your shoulders rather, as far as you can in every direction. Sorry about the kitten. And backwards now, 10 shoulder circles. Really just trying to open up our chest and our back. Okay, now we're going to do hip openers. So if you need to hold on to something for balance, you can. We're going to do 10 each side. So what you do is you start off bringing your knee up in front. You bring it out to the side, around back, and down. Eight, 9, 10. Okay, let's do it the other leg now. So up, around, and back. I'll make sure I don't kick the stool over. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, last thing we're going to do, sitting in your chair, all I want you to do is take a deep inhale. Exhale, twist your body, look over your right shoulder, and exhale. We'll hold this position, do another inhale. Exhale. One more, inhale. And exhale. Back to center. Inhale, twist, look over your left shoulder. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Good. So those mobility exercises, or that warm-up, those exercises were chosen specifically based on a posture that we get into when we sit a lot. So please feel free to add even just that little 3-minute warm-up to any part of your day, just to open your body up, get your joints moving. But now we're going to go into a workout. So this workout, it's going to be 5 rounds done twice through. We'll do 30 seconds of work, 30 seconds of rest. Okay, so the first one we're doing is body weight squat, shoulders down and back, core braced. Just squat down, come back up. Make sure that your knees are under control, they're not caving in. And make sure that when you're coming up, your feet are fully planted in the ground, pushing up. If you want, you could also do a sit to stand. So you sit back onto your chair, come up. Notice though that I didn't let go of my brace. I didn't slump into my chair. I used it as a target, came back up. The next exercise, push up. So I'm sure you guys all know what push-ups are. You can go from your feet, you can go from your knees, or you can use that chair. Make sure that it's steady and it's not going to fall away from you. You can do an incline push-up. Next, Blackburns. So if you have a band, you can use it, but you don't need to. All you need to do, sit upright, make a W with your arms, thumbs pointing to the back wall, and squeeze your shoulder blades together, pull those thumbs behind you, and back. You want to do it with a band, just to make it a little bit harder, you can. Next is the hip hinge, so kind of the top part of the deadlift. Keeping a neutral spine, cores braced. Push your hips back to bring your chest forward, and then come back up. So to come up, get a good squeeze of your glutes and your hamstrings. What we don't want to see is your back rounded. You can also use that same band to add a little bit of resistance to that movement. Final exercise, jumping jacks. So just like we've done ever since we were little, you can choose to step out if you want instead, if the jumping hurts your knees. Okay, twice through, 30 seconds on, 30 seconds rest. Okay, we're gonna go in 15 seconds. Starting with the squat or sit to stand. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. So as you're squatting down, I want you to pay attention to how you're feeling. Are you feeling this in your glutes? Are you feeling like you're shrugging your shoulders up? Pay attention to your movement, because sometimes we just kind of go through the motion, we don't pay attention, and we end up almost making, well, we're not working what we want to work, and we may be working some things that are already tight. And rest. Okay. Next is push-up. You don't have to do the entire 30 seconds the same way. For example, I'm going to do some push-ups for my toes, and then I'm going to do some for my knees, and then hopefully back to my toes again. You don't have to commit to one. I challenge you to try a couple reps in the next level up. Okay, ready, go. 30 seconds. You decide your own pace. You can keep up with me, you can go faster than me, or you can do fewer reps. It's all up to you, but ideally we don't stop moving in these 30 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, rest. Good job. Blackburns are next. So the idea here is that we squeeze using our middle trap and our rhomboids, not our upper traps. So when you're doing these, pay attention to where your shoulders are. Are they creeping up by your ears? If so, roll your shoulders down and back and continue. Ready, go. 30 seconds. You may even feel a little bit of tightness in your chest, across your chest muscles when you do this. That could just be that your chest is a little bit tight and it's kind of limiting your back's ability to activate. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, rest. Okay, we're going to the hip hinge. I'm going to use a band for this one. Okay, we're going in 15 seconds. Use this 30 seconds to slow down your breathing or grab some water. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So notice I'm only really going down to my hands or at my knees, and I come back up. All the movements coming from me pushing my hips back, but I'm keeping my knees soft, right, to help with the movement. Do you feel your hamstrings getting a little taut? Do you feel your glutes squeezing to get you back upright? And rest. Okay, next one, jumping jacks or stepping jacks, whichever you prefer. And then we're done the first round. We gotta do it one more time, then we're done. We're gonna go in 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1, let's go. I want to see nice big jumping jacks, no chicken wing jacks. Hands all the way up overhead. If you're gonna work out, you may as well move more, right? Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, one more time through all those exercises, and then we move to the cool down. The cool down is just going to be a series of stretches that you can do from your desk if you wish. Okay, going back to squats. If you counted your reps the first time you did it, try to equal that rep count or even go higher. If you didn't count, it's okay. Ready, go. Pay attention to how you feel. Are you squeezing your glutes to get up? Are your feet firmly planted in the ground? That's the heel, the big toe, and the entire ball of the foot should be pushing into the ground, giving you a nice base of support. And rest. Okay, push-ups. I don't know if I can do the full 30 seconds for my toes again. Okay, going in 15 seconds. If you guys want to make this related to the force, you could always come down, hand release, come up. 3, 2, 1. I'm going to do some hand release push-ups now. Try to get your chest and your hips off the ground at the same time. Sometimes we get tired, we kind of snake up a little bit like that. 3, 2, 1, done. Okay, Blackburns now. So you can do a body weight or you can do a banded. If you do a banded, it's easier if you anchor it in front of you to do it. We're going in 10 seconds. I won't use the band. All right, I'm doing it kneeling. 2, 1, go. But I'm not letting my back arch. I'm engaging my core, squeezing my glutes so I have a nice straight line too. You need a stable foundation to be able to move properly. How are your shoulders doing? Are they creeping up or are they staying nice and low? 3, 2, 1. Good job. We got the hip hinge next in 30 seconds. So your back should be flat, or sorry, spine should be neutral, that if you had a broomstick along your back, it'd be touching your head, between your shoulder blades, and your tailbone the whole time. Ready? Right, you want to have those 3 points of contact the entire time you're moving through the hip hinge. Ten seconds. 3, 2, 1. Last but not least, the jumping jacks. So just like the push-ups, you can do some jumping and then some stepping. It's all up to you. You just have to be outside of your comfort zone during the workout, right? That's where change is made. We're going in 10 seconds. Okay, good thing I don't need this band anymore. 3, 2, 1. Last 30 seconds of work. Ten seconds left. 3, 2, 1. Done. Okay, good job, guys. Just super quick workout, 10 minutes out of your day just to get your heart rate flowing. We are going to do some stretches now. So these stretches were picked based on a sitting posture too. So opening up everything that tends to get rounded and closed while sitting at a desk. Okay, first one, 30-second chest stretch. So you can even do this from your chair. You're sitting there. Stool's a little bit high for me. You guys just learned about ergonomic chairs, and then I'm not sitting in a good one. What you're gonna do, put your hands out in front, reach behind you, and then press your chest forward, feeling the whole front open up. We'll do 30 seconds. Let's go. Make sure you keep your chin away from your chest. I do have to peek down at the stopwatch though. Take nice, long, deep breaths. Allow your muscles to relax through your deep breathing. Okay, come out of that one. We're going to do 30 seconds, trap stretch right into left. So what you're going to do, take your right arm, grab underneath your chair, sit nice and upright. So you'll probably already start feeling a stretch in your neck. Lean your head away. 30 seconds right, 30 seconds left. Let's go. So this muscle group, this area, tends to be quite tight on a lot of people. So it's good just to take some time to show those muscles a little bit of love. Final deep breath. Head back to center. Left arm grabs under the left side of the chair and into the next stretch. Final deep breath. Okay, good. So now we're going to do a forearm stretch. So you can do this onto your desk if you want. I'm just going to do this onto the stool. You're going to turn your hands so your fingers point towards you. Put your palms flat on the desk and then lean back, getting a nice stretch all up in here. We'll do 30 seconds, both at the same time. Ready? Let's go. So these stretches are safe to do every day. You want to be uncomfortable when you stretch, but you don't want to feel pain. Final deep breath. Come out of that stretch. Okay, what we're going to do now is a glute stretch. Okay, so this is how you're going to get into it safely. So sitting in your chair, your hips close to the front, we're going to cross one leg over the other. You're going to slide that leg up. You can use your hands to grab onto your shoelace or pant legs, not shoelace, shoes. And then you're going to bend that stable knee. You may already be feeling a pretty strong stretch in your hips there. If not, lean forward. And to get out of it safely, just slide it back down. We're going to do 30 seconds on the right, right away to 30 seconds on the left. Ready? Let's go. I'm just checking out the stopwatch here. Take nice long deep breaths. Don't let your back round into it. Try to keep your back straight. Final deep breath. Sit up. Let that top leg slide down. Switch sides. Right into it. If you can't get your leg above the knee and you feel enough of a stretch doing this, just do that, right? You have to make it your own. If you push yourself too far in some mobility exercises, you can cause a little bit of damage. So you need to pay attention to how you feel. All right, sit up, come out of that. 30 seconds goes by quick. Final stretch that we're gonna do is our hip flexor. We spend a lot of time sitting. Our hip flexors get quite short. So you can hold on to your chair for this. This is a little bit high for me, but if you have a chair that's about knee height, you can also rest your knee on it. Obviously that didn't work for me. So we're just gonna grab onto your foot. You can also grab onto your shoe or pant leg like so if you don't have that mobility. And what I want you to do is think about squeezing your glute. So you're pressing your hips forward, your knees are in line, and you're feeling a nice stretch all the way down your quad and your hip flexor. Okay, ready? 30 seconds, and then we'll switch right away. Final minute of mobility. Don't forget, squeeze your glute, tuck your tailbone underneath so you can get a full opening in the front of your hip. Final deep breath. All right, we'll switch sides and let's get into it. So I'm just gonna pretend I'm holding on to something. Although after that, I think I may actually need to hold on to something. Squeeze your glutes, squeeze your glutes. Try to push your hip open. It's much safer than arching your back to get it open. Final deep breath. And that's it. Thank you for joining the active break. If you're interested in joining any PSP Fitness classes, you can find us on our PSP Fitness Ottawa Facebook page. And that's it for me, and I'll bring you guys back to Tina.
And just a reminder that you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and that you'll also find recordings of our webinars on the YouTube Health Promotion Ottawa. You can feel free to visit our website, and you can also join our distribution list. So you'll get messages with our newsletter that's released every month, as well as reminders of upcoming webinar sessions.